Hey everyone, welcome or welcome back to the Missy Money channel. I'm Missy and I'm a mom of 3 and the owner of Missy Money, a small business that specializes in minimalist and aesthetic cash stuffing essentials to help inspire and motivate you on your personal finance journey. Today I'm going to be cash stuffing my second paycheck of September, including variable expenses, sinking funds, and savings challenges. Stay tuned. All right, guys, so it is the second weekend of September and it's starting to feel like fall now that we're kind of in the middle of September or a little bit further into September. Maybe it's just because college football season is back and the Buckeyes are undefeated so far, so that is a great start to college football season. I know they haven't had any really challenging games yet, but you know what? We're going to take this undefeated run and hopefully keep going with it. So as always, I'm going to go ahead and start by unstuffing my variable expenses from my weekly wallet and see if there's any cash left that I can contribute to savings challenges. So in groceries, I've got $27 left. I'm going to go ahead and pull that out. Eating out is spent. Gas, I did not spend this week, but I also did not fill up. So I am going to go ahead and roll that over into the next pay period. Spending is not spent at all. So I'm going to go ahead and pull all of that out. Family looks like it has some left as well. Yep, 25, so I'm going to pull that out as well. Kindness, I did not spend this week, but I'm going to roll that over into the next pay period. And then I don't think I spent miscellaneous either. Yep, I still have $40 in miscellaneous. So it was a lower spend week for me this week, which was great. And then I am not going to unstuff my spent envelope until the very end of September, the very end of the month. So I will go ahead and keep that in there. And that is it for unstuffing my wallet. As always, I'm just going to take this, I'm going to set it aside until I'm ready to contribute to savings challenges, and then we'll see what our total is for contributing to savings challenges. So I'm going to go ahead and pull over my paycheck breakdown and cash planning sheet. And you can see I went ahead and filled this out. Now, before I get started on this, I did want to mention I just recently did a shop update. And one of the things, I was not planning on doing a shop update kind of this close to my last one, but there were a couple of things that I just couldn't wait until my next bigger shop update to do. So one of those things that I did want to release was a digital version of my monthly goals template, and then a digital version, so Excel-based version of my paycheck breakdown and cash planning sheet. And what I love about that is it kind of does the calculations for you and allows you to go back and make changes without, before you write it down or even without writing it down. So you can kind of figure out how you want to allocate all of your paycheck dollars or your monthly goals dollars. So I am using that. I did use that template in order to get this all set up for this paycheck, but then I did end up copying it down, at least for this video, because I just wasn't sure that I wanted to move fully to the digital version yet. What I might actually do for future videos, and one of the things I did want to mention is if you do use that digital version of the paycheck breakdown and cash planning sheet, but you do want to copy it over into some written version, the other product I recently launched was this cash planning notepad. And so on the digital version of the paycheck breakdown and cash planning sheet, you can plan your denominations. It essentially does everything that this written paper version does. So you can do your cash planning, you can do your cash denomination breakdown, all within the same digital template. But if you're one of those people that likes kind of handwriting your cash planning, I have these pads available as well. So you can see it has a place for your category, the amount, and then the breakdown of your cash denominations that you'll need. So I just wanted to remind folks that that is an option if you wanted to use a combination of the digital planner and that pad, or if you want to just use the digital planner, or if you're just a paper girly and you want to use the paper version, that's totally fine as well. But wanted to mention that before we got into this. So today is September 6th. This pay period will run from September 6th until September 12th, and it represents 25% of my monthly goals. And so I am going to set aside 25% of my debt and bill payments, and I will go ahead and keep those allocations in the bank. The reason I do that is because I'm a weekly paid employee. I have 4 paychecks in every single month, and so by setting aside 25% of my monthly debt and bill payments, by the end of this month, I will have 100% of those payments saved up and in the bank and ready to auto draft October's bill and debt payments because I'm 1 month ahead on bill and debts. So that is why I keep my bill and debt allocations in the bank. I will go ahead and, as usual, I will stuff cash for my weekly wallet. So those are my variable expenses that I'll use throughout the week. And then I do have 3 sinking fund binders. I've separated out my sinking fund categories by those binders. So I've got my long-term sinking funds, short-term sinking funds, and then I've got a separate kids binder. So I will go ahead and cash stuff those. And then, as is usual for at least recently, I am specifically setting aside some Paycheck dollars to cover a portion of my 52-week savings challenge contribution. And then every week I will also set aside at least $25 for vacation. That's what I'll plan in my paycheck, but I'll use my leftover variable expenses to stuff as much as I can in the vacation savings challenge, and then also use this to contribute to the 12-month savings challenge as well. So when I planned out how much cash I needed for this stuffing, that came to $1,085. And again, I just did a double check to make sure that I was using every dollar from my paycheck and planning to a zero-based budget, which I was. So I'm gonna go ahead and set that aside, and I'm just gonna flip back so I can see what denominations I need to stuff. And then I'm gonna pull over my funds, cash that I got from the bank. This is just a little teller slip, so it makes it easy to kind of get the denominations that you need from the bank. But I'm going to go ahead and set this into my cash tray. I don't have any ones. I don't usually like stuffing ones. It just feels like it takes up a lot of room, and so I usually round to 5s to kind of make it a little bit more even. So my cash is in the tray and ready to go. So as always, I'm going to go ahead and start by stuffing my variable expenses for the week. So the first category that I am going to stuff is groceries, and groceries is getting $200, which is the usual amount for the week. And I'm going to go ahead and do 100 and then 250s for that. Next is eating out, and eating out is getting $125, so 250s, a 20, and a 5. And usually for eating out, we are doing DoorDash, so most of the time that is a credit card transaction or a debit card transaction. So I usually give myself a little bit of a mix of bills and eating out, so that when I do make that purchase and it's tied to a credit card, I can just take the cash from eating out and put it into my spent envelope to represent that transaction. So myself a few mix of bills there. Gas is getting another 30, and since I didn't fill up last week, I am most likely going to need to fill up this week. We don't use a ton of gas because we're hybrid work from home employees, so we just don't go a lot of places, but we will definitely need to fill up at least one of the cars this week. Spending is getting $40. Family is also getting $40, so that'll be 220s. Kindness is going to get another 5. I rolled over the 5 that I had in there, so that means that I'll have 10 total in kindness. And then miscellaneous is getting $40. And that is it for my weekly wallet. So I'm going to go ahead and set that aside. And then next, I'm going to go ahead and start by stuffing my long-term sinking funds. So I'm going to flip my page over here so I know what I need to stuff. So emergency is getting $40. And I just did a condensing not that long ago, so a nice condensed mix of bills in here. So emergency now has 100, 200, 300, 350, 370, 390, 395. And my goal for emergency, I do have a bulk of my emergency sinking fund dollars already in the bank, but I did have to buy a new washer and dryer. Our dryer unit had a fire in it, and we ended up replacing the set. So my goal for emergency to replace what I had to take out of my emergency fund that was sitting in the bank is $2,500. So once this gets saved back up to $2,500, I'll take my emergency envelope out, but for now I'll keep working at it. Christmas is getting $40. I condensed that down to just a $1,000 placeholder, so now it has $1,040. Holidays is getting $10, so holidays now has 100, 200, 10. I love cash stuffing after a condensing because the counting goes so fast. Medical is getting $20. So medical now has 150, 170, 190, 210, 215. Insurance is getting $20 as well. So insurance now has 100, 250, 270. Home is getting 25. So home now has 100, 150, 170, 175, 180. Lawn is getting 10, so that'll put lawn at 30. Car is getting 15. So car now has 100, 120, 130, 135, 140. And then anniversary is getting 20. So anniversary will have 100, 200, 300, 320. And that is the last contribution before we spend our anniversary dollars. So we actually have a little bit of a crazy weekend coming up. We do have our anniversary day date. And if you've been watching for a while, you know that our original plan for our anniversary was going to be that we were going to go to an Ohio State football game. But we decided that we just needed to probably not do that because that would have required us kind of being out of town, away from the kids, and somebody to watch our kids overnight, which we totally would have done. My sister would have come over and done that, but the baby, our littlest, is still not sleeping through the night, and she still usually has a wake up where I need to go in and kind of comfort her and get her back down. And we didn't want to set any caretaker up for failure by trying to have them go through the night with her. So instead, we are going to do a full day date. We're going to get a massage. We're going to go have a nice dinner where we kind of have this whole day date planned. So equally excited about that. It's a little bit different than what we originally thought, but it'll be awesome. All right, I'm just pulling out my short-term sinking fund binder to start stuffing that. But before we actually do our day date, in the early morning, I have a pickup for a mom's group sale. So our Facebook, kind of local Facebook city township moms group puts on a sale that's essentially a resale of items. So Shopping Now has 100, 150, 170, 190, 195. And it's so cool because if you're a seller, which I'm one of, I think there's like 200 sellers total, you kind of list all these items on this resale website. Date night is getting 25. So date night now has 50, 100, 120, 140, 150, 155, 160. And then you kind of put pictures up, you put a little description, and then this sale goes for like 1 weekend. So for 1 weekend, anybody on this mom's group, which I think is like 10,000 people big, it's huge, can get on this website and they go ahead and shop for what they want. And then the pickup all happens in this like 2-hour time span during a weekend. That's like 2 weekends from the sale. And everybody descends on this parking lot. All of the sellers kind of pull in their SUVs or their vans, and they have all of the bags kind of all packed up, ready to go for all the sellers, labeled with the buyers, labeled with the buyers' names. And then the buyers just get to go kind of car to car in the parking lot and do one huge pickup. So everything that they buy from all of the different sellers, they get in that 1-2 hour time span by just kind of visiting the different seller spots that they need. And as a seller, it's so awesome because the buyers are paying probably what they would pay at Once Upon a Child for really nice items, gently used items. But as a seller, I get so much more of the value back than if I would have sold it to Once Upon a Child and them take the majority of that kind of profit from that item. So it's the coolest event. I love it. And the best part about it is that that is essentially like a bonus income for me. So I get paid at the pickup by the two ladies that kind of organize it all and work all the back end and the technical part of it and the website. But I will get paid there, and then I'm going to do a bonus cash stuffing next week to kind of show you how bonus income works in the cash stuffing system. So I'm super excited about that. I am 90% sure that I pulled the 20 for this. Family Fun is getting 20. So Family Fun now has 50, 100, 20, 40, 50. We're going to see in editing if I actually did that. That's what happens. I get on a tangent and then I totally forget what I'm doing in the middle of what I'm doing. Clothing is getting 25. So clothing now has 100, 150, 200, 20, 25. And the two ladies that organize it, they charge for every single item that you sell, they charge 20, I think it's 20 cents, 20 or 25 cents for every single item, which, you know, kind of pays for the website and the back end of the stuff that they do. And also gives them a little bit of, you know, compensation for the time that they put into organizing it. But again, like as a seller, I get to keep so much more than if I were to sell those items to like a Once Upon a Child or a, you know, resale store. So it's such a cool event. We do it twice a year, and I've been a seller for probably, gosh, like 3 years now. It's really cool. So self-care now has 50, 100, 50, 200, 20. Lola and Luna are getting 25. It also just feels good that like the clothes that my kids outgrow or the shoes that my kids outgrow are going to get a nice second life for somebody that needs them, and that a mom in the local area is getting really nice things that her kids can use too, which is just a really great feeling. So Lola and Luna now have 50, 100, 20, 40, 60, 80, 200, 20, 40, 50, 55, 60. And their appointments this week, so I'm gonna be spending that this week. Gifts is getting $20, so Gifts now has 40. And then Kindness is getting 15. So Kindness now has 20, 40, 60, 80, 100, 20, 40, 60, 70, 80, 85, 90. Getting close to having enough to be able to do a kindness project. I want to get 200 before I do that. And then Miscellaneous is getting $20. So Miscellaneous now has 20, 40, 60, 80, 100, 20, 30. But anyway, we have that pickup in the morning. The pickup starts at like 7 a.m. or something obscenely early and goes till I think 7 to 9. And then after that, we are going to go ahead and start our day date. That's when our childcare starts. And so we're gonna make a day of it, and I think we're gonna start out with brunch, so that'll be awesome. Maverick is getting, this is my kids binder, and Maverick is getting $5 this week, so that's gonna put Maverick's total at 20, 40, 45, 50. I might actually give my sister some of the envelope money so she can kind of do something fun with them while we are on our day date tomorrow. Remy is getting $5. So Remy now has 20, 40, 45, 50. Be a fun little activity for them during the day. Go pick something out. Callie's also getting 5, so she has 20, 40, 45, 50. And they can show us the next morning. All right, medical. Medical is getting $20 for the kids. Medical now has 20, 40, 60, 80, 100, 20, 40, 60, 80, 200, 20, 30. And then activities is getting 25. So kids activities now has 50, 70, 90, 110, 130, 150, 170, 180, 185, 190. Birthdays is getting $20. So kids birthdays now has 20, 40, 60, 80, 100, 20, 40, 60, 80, 220. Kids clothing is getting 25. So kids clothing now has 20, 40, 50, 55. And then kids haircuts is getting $5. So kids haircuts now has 20, 40, 60, 75. Memberships is getting 15. So memberships now has 50, 70, 90, 110, 130, 150, 160, 165, 170. And then school is getting 15 as well. So school now has 20, 40, 60, 80, 100, 10, 20, 25. And teacher gifts is also getting 15. So teacher gifts now has 20, 40, 60, 80, 100, 10, 15, 20. And that is it for teacher gifts. So that is it for my sinking funds for this week. Now, the money that I have up here in the cash tray is the money that I specifically planned for in this Paycheck for savings challenges, but I also have leftover funds from my variable expenses from this past pay period. So I'm gonna put this all together and see what I've got total to be able to contribute to savings challenges this week. So I will pop this back into the tray, and then we can pull out our savings challenges and see what we can do there. All right. So as always, I'm going to go ahead and start with the 52-week savings challenge. The 52-week savings challenge is really simple in its concept. You're just going to save the amount of cash for the week that you're in. So I am in week number 36. So I'm going to find envelope number 36 back here. And let's see if I've got that exact amount. 20, 30, yep, 35, 36. So I'm gonna go ahead and pop that into envelope number 36. Then I'll just flip back to the front here, and I will mark that one off on my tracker. Seeing the light at the end of the tunnel for this one. So that is it for the 52-week savings challenge for this week. Next, I'm going to go ahead and pull out my 12-month savings challenge. And I'm going to flip back to September here, and we're going to see what we want to contribute for this September savings challenge. So because this is the second week of September, I'm going to want to try to get at least halfway through my September icons. So that would mean, push this up a little bit, that would mean that I need to do, I don't know, maybe like 80. Let's see how much flexibility I have. 20, 40, 60, 80. Yeah, let's do that. I'm gonna do $80 this week. So that means I'm gonna be able to do 16 symbols. So I'm just gonna mark 15. So this will be my last one. So I'm gonna go ahead and fill those in. All right, and that is it for this week's contribution to the 12-month savings challenge for September, and that did put me about halfway done, which is great. And then last, I'm gonna put everything else that I've got into the Magical Vacation Savings Challenge. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna tackle at least one more. Yeah, I'm gonna tackle one more of the airfare icons. And on Magical Vacation Savings Challenge, I'm just doing all black for all the symbols, so I don't have to try to remember what colors I did for each one. So that's one more airfare symbol, which is awesome because airfare is one of my bigger savings challenges in terms of how much I need to save. So it's one of the higher icon values. So I'll pop that back into that one. Let's see if I've got a 20 or a 30. I think I can do, yep, I can do 30. So I'm going to fill in one more ticket icon. I love the little ticket icons. So that is awesome. And again, if you're new, I know that this is going to take a really long time to get through this challenge. We're not planning on going on a vacation for probably another 2 years, but this is one that is just going to be slow and steady. And when we get there, it'll be awesome and totally worth it. So that is it for my magical vacation savings challenge. And that's it for savings challenges in general. And that's also it for this video. So as always, I just want to thank everybody for watching this video, for engaging. If you're wondering what the $1 left over is, I don't have any place I can put this, so I'm just going to go ahead and throw that into my miscellaneous envelope for my variable expenses. But thanks for being here and being part of my personal finance journey, and just for all of the support that this community has shown. If you are on your own personal finance journey, as always, I wish you a simple budget, a calm mind, and a happy life. Thanks for watching.